And another thing in terms of EBC where we really take off the mask is with the 5% updates. We always share the 5% of like what is going on in their life in family, business, and personal. And 5% means the things that are either so good or so bad that you would not share them.
I can create a culture in my company when there's an early warning system. Most problems in my company occur because we think the problem will go away by itself, or we're working on a solution without informing other stakeholders. And maybe it was a really hopeful solution where we think, okay, we'll fix it before it turns into a problem. And then it didn't. And we forgot to include the stakeholders and most often the customer.
Welcome to another episode of the Love Not Fear podcast, where Eduard and I dig in to find out how we can make more decisions in life out of love versus fear. Eduard, what is our topic today?
The topic that I would like to discuss is taking your mask off. And it stems from a clear memory of 2 weeks ago when we were together in an entrepreneurs organization format, where we spent a couple of days exploring ideas, talking about problems, challenges in a completely safe situation. And yeah, it reminded me of having no mask on and what are the huge benefits of living in such a state. And it reminded me, why can't we prolong that and what is needed for that? I recall you once saying that you said, I'm too stupid to tell a lie because I don't know. I cannot remember them. So I always tell the truth. I thought it was pretty funny.
I found that just living without a mask off, it makes life much easier. And I can only second that with the experience that we have in EBC, in the European Bridge chapter, or in EO in general. You become much closer with the people around you. And I think we really crave this. So I personally really crave this. People who are real, people who are authentic, people share with, not living their Instagram perfect real life. And a few years ago, I decided to just be authentic, be real, and show people who I am without the mask, and not hoping that people, not hoping to fit into an environment that is not me. But what I found is that when I just approach people with the mask off and just like I'm real, I share who I am, then either I really drag people in very fast or I push them away. And if I push them away, it's also fine because then they are not the right fit. And this made my life much better, I have to say.
Yeah, it's takes less energy also. I mean, people can have everybody can have one thought at a time. So what if your hard disk needs to use a lot of memory to to keep stories alive that doesn't feel true? It costs energy. It costs mental power. It causes many problems, and most of it is not listening to that little inner voice before you tell something that's not true or half true. It is draining, and I think it's by being unfair to the rest of the world, you're being unfair to yourself for the largest part.
Yes, foremost, you're unfair to yourself because talking about Love Not Fear podcast, this is clearly acting out of fear of not being accepted, of not looking good, of
I'm
what
triggered
do
by
people
what you
think of
just
me?
said, by having your mask off all the time, and that you should be that you either attract people or push people away. I kind of like that because by getting the real deal it's maybe an early warning system for you. How do you do that? I'm just thinking that if by being that way, you don't interact with people that do not share your core values and do not resonate with you. Not only it saves a lot of time, but it saves a lot of energy. It saves a lot of problems later on.
Yes, for sure. Because people, yeah, I mean, I guess if you buy a product and you just like get what's in here, this is baked beans, tomato sauce and beans. This is all that's in there. It's very simple what you're getting, and there's no issues later on. So, uh, one story that it's kind of funny and it shocked me, but I think it's in the end it's actually a good thing. Some woman took the do-it-yourself managing happiness course with her fiance, and after doing the core values exercise and the going through their goals that they have, they realized that they're completely different and that they have different values and different goals in life, and they broke it off. And she wrote me this email like, "Thank you so much for this. Really opened my eyes." First, I was terrified that I basically ended the relationship, but at the end of the day, I think they saved themselves a lot of headache down the road. Um, and another anecdote for taking off the mask with my companies, we also take off our masks in the sense that our core values and our vision and mission can be edgy to some degree. For example, at Max CDN, we had the core value build cool shit, with the purpose that we want to attract people who are engineering geeks and who want to build cool shit, and also with the purpose to push people away who would be offended by a company using the word shit in their core values because they want to come to work with a suit and tie on and not being real. Or, I mean, maybe that's their reality, but not fitting to our reality where it's totally okay to use the word shit.
In your hiring process, is being able to share and open up, is that a trait that you look for actively?
Of course, of course. I mean, we share our hiring processes that we have on the job posting. We have a video of the hiring manager who goes over the job description, but also talks about our core values and our vision and our mission. Because also the idea again, like attract people that watch this video should say like, oh, I can see myself working with that person, or like, oh no, this dude creeps me out. I want nothing to do with this. And one of the core values that we have is transparency, and then we talk about that, or the hiring manager talks about that. And also once somebody is hired, um, we do Lifeline exercises with the teams, which is also coming from EO. This is where I heard about it first. Actually, no, I didn't hear about, but I heard from another friend many years ago. But this is an exercise where people really take off the masks, and maybe since it's been in EO so long, maybe you want to share how the Lifeline exercise works.
Yeah. So for anybody who is not familiar with it, it is like it's where you share the most important moments in your life. Basically rating your life, and we only discuss the really lows and the really highs because that's where the most interesting stuff is, of course, and those are the moments that define you. We did another version in EBC. That's one. What was it? One crucial moment that changed your perspective. Two people that made a huge influence, and three key moments. I thought it was a nice version if you want to speed it up. One decision, two people, and three moments.
And another thing in terms of EBC where we really take off the mask is with the 5% updates. We always share the 5% of like what's going on in their life, in family, business, and personal. And 5% means the things that are either so good or so bad that you would not share them with, that you would normally not share them with your father-in-law or maybe even your wife, etc., or with friends. It's also like a huge masks off.
The exercise is of course very interesting for other people to get to know you, but the most interesting is you get to know yourself. What is it that actually you determine is the 5%? I'm buying it. I've did it many times, but my lifelines they're not completely different, but the fair eye. So sometimes I have a different perspective, and I rate some other event higher, more significant than later. Could you see this lifeline exercise? Could you see it being used in your, with your spouse?
Oh, yeah, for sure. We have people who've been. I've also done this with Yurda, to just go over the highs and lows that we had in our life, and we've been together for a very long time. We're together since we're 19. But doing this exercise, I was able to see certain, for example, when she went through breast cancer, something that was really tough for her was that I did not go to radiotherapy with her. It just like was in my logical mind, I felt like, oh, there's like no benefit for me being there, but the emotional support that she would have needed was uh, was very important for her. And so, kind of like seeing the things that where your partner has been really things were really tough for them, that maybe it was like for you, like, oh, really, this was that big of a deal. To kind of like see these perspectives with people. And also when people do lifelines, it's also interesting to see, are they over this, like the way how they talk about the issue that went on back then, or are they still traumatized? So gives lots of clarity.
It's kind of a deep exercise to start right away. So I think creating the right circumstances where this is a normal conversation, that is I think it's very crucial. So at first, if you've never talked about what's going on or how you view certain things in your youth, then it might be disappointing because yeah, not much will come out of it. But yeah, clearly, of course, you must be able to hear and see each other first before you can do this. And there cannot be any elephants in the room, because yeah, that way it will spiral right back to this problem that's right in front. So it should be in a very, yeah, relaxed atmosphere, safe place, and then yeah, maybe not do it at one time. If I would go back to my lovely wife, she would be very surprised and say, "Dear, let's do a lifeline." So before doing that, yeah, might take a little pre-work. Um, Not pre-work, but maybe addressing some issues first. And the lifeline could be like discussion number three of revisiting that certain discussion.
With your spouse, it's one thing, but with teams, it's even more tough. If we always foster really good culture, so it's not that big of a deal. But like I could see, like if a company doesn't have like a good culture, like why would you open up and really share, take the mask off in front of your coworker that you really don't like, or your boss, or whatever that you report to, that's not that great of a person in your eyes. But kind of, as you said, like clearing the elephant in the room, or like uh, setting the right settings. And then if somebody, what we found, that if somebody goes first, that has done this, and is willing to go really deep, and then you have somebody who follows this up, who's also going maybe even deeper, then you have like the trajectory of like of sharing, where people are like, oh, actually this is a safe space, and also set the rules, like everything here that is shared is confidential, etc. You kind of have some ground rules that you set up front. But it's really powerful when you have like this, the momentum that goes. And when I'm doing in managing happiness, when I run a cohort, we also do the lifeline there, which is a great way to in a very short period of time get deeply connected with people. I always have EOers go first if there's an EOer in there, because I know that they will go deep. And then often I see that others change up their lifeline, like, oh, actually, I didn't notice we have an application in UpCoach where you can do lifelines. I did not notice in here, but since, XYZ shared so deeply, and I see that it's actually appropriate or possible to share that deep, they add a lot more color to their life.
In the right time, with the right people, and if you literally need time for this, you can find layers and layers in there. But let's go back to what you said about the company, because it reminds me, it is not something, having deep discussions about getting to know yourself. That's quite common in the hiring process in the beginning. But keeping it up, creating moments and spaces where you share what's going on, that's actually very important. And I have started so many types of meetings that abandoned later on because the team changed it, or there was a summer period, and we forgot about them, or COVID happened. And it reminds me, so thank you for reminding me, that I need to bring back a certain type of meeting where we do share, and where we do sit down and allow for some time to say, okay, who's carrying what in the company, and is that actually fair? Who maybe just changing the perspective, on is this really a problem or not? And by doing that, I think we can create a culture. I can create a culture in my company when there's an early warning system. Most problems in my company occur because we think the problem will go away by itself, or we working on a solution without informing other stakeholders. And maybe it was a really hopeful solution where we think, okay, we'll fix it before it turns into a problem. And then it didn't. And we forgot to include the stakeholders, and most often the customer. And this is painful. And it's about really trivial things that could be avoided by having the right conversation at the right time. So yeah, engaging in conversations within the company, but also with the customer. And that now we're right back in the beginning to listen to this little voice. Having your mask off means telling the truth, being genuine, not only in your private life but in business life. It is a key element, not only for success but also to create a culture where people carry their own weight.
And also even carrying your own weight, but also that others see what you're carrying, and maybe others can jump in and help, because at the end of the day, when you build this team of trust and authenticity, like you say, like, okay, I really messed up here, this is what didn't work, this, I'm such a big fan of the error log, which I mentioned 100 times on the pod. Once you say like, hey, I'm actually really struggling with this, others can jump in and help. And this brings me to something I actually wrote down that I want to share. I was introduced to this gentleman called Sanjeev Sidhu, who is running like very large organizations. He was on the Forbes lists at place 110 at some point. So he made a lot of money with a software and consulting, like the big 50 companies in the world about supply chain management. And he asked me this question: what do you ask if somebody's not delivering on what they're supposed to do? Let's say you have a salesperson, he said, like, he's supposed to sell 10 units and he only sold 3. What is the ideal question that you ask that person? And I came up with like a bunch of questions, and he's like, no. The best question is to ask, when did you notice it first? Because when people always think that way, then they'll like realize, like, okay, A, makes them do better forecasting, and B, trains them to, like, whenever they run into an issue, like whatever he's supposed to sell 10 units, and you can see that the month is not shaping up properly, you can go to the person you report to your team and say, like, hey guys, I'm struggling. This may not come in as planned, which is also part of like taking off the mask and showing, like, hey, this is what's going on. And
I like it.
I think it's really powerful.
Yeah. Because if you don't have that don't ask that kind of question, it's always the other one's fault. It's always in sales, it's always marketing. Hey, what did we spend on marketing or delivery times or what have you? So that's a nice one, nice takeaway. That could also be the end of this episode, David. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too. I think a good call to action is do lifelines. It's very simple. You sit down, just like draw a line. This is when you're born. This is your current age, and you can kind of make like some marks in the middle to kind of go like, wherever the ages are, and then you just write down highs and lows of what happened in your life, and do it with your spouse, do it with your team, do it with maybe even with yourself, and kind of like see which stories are you still struggling with, and where there's maybe some trauma. It's very eye-opening exercise.
See you soon, David.
Rock and roll. Thank you, Eduard.
Cheers.